Easy peasy wafer cups, and you can make them any size. So let's get started. We're going to start off with some cookie dough colored clay. Now, if you haven't seen the video where I show you how to make this color, go back into the basics playlist that's called basics and you will find it in there. I think it's also got gingerbread colored dough and chocolate colored dough in there as well. So dark chocolate and milk chocolate. So that's where you'll find how to do this, but it's pretty much number 1 white, number 31 light gingerbread, and number 25 pastel yellow. And as you can see, we used our pasta roller on it, cut out a circle. Now that's the make them any size you want. Cut out any size circle that you want. Okay. The trick could be, if you go super big, is just making that pattern, and you could make the pattern with a ruler, just don't cut all the way through. See how at the back of my clay you cannot see that pattern go all the way through? Because if you do that, it will that encourages your clay to split open and you'll see your styrofoam on the inside. So with the styrofoam, I used a hot knife cutter and just cut the top off. The only reason I cut the top off is because I want to dip this to give it a really rustic, sort of a natural look, like a real that ice cream cup sort of look would be. And that was the reason I cut the top off that. And the styrofoam is just one of those little styrofoam cupcake forms that you can buy. Well, I think I got mine off Temu. See that one there? I didn't cut the top off, and I think that would get in my way when I go to dip. So that was the only reason as to why I took the top off. But you could definitely leave it on there. And the other thing that I played around with too is, did I want like a base to put all my elements onto, or did I want them falling down into the cup more? And I sort of decided I didn't want them falling down in the cup too much, which is why I've got myself a little inner base with the styrofoam. Otherwise, all your ice cream scoops going to fall down to the bottom of that little wafer cup. So now I'm just going in. This is a dry one that I'd already previously done, and I'm going in with some honey brown, and I'm just brushing that over with some water, and this is similar to what we've done with the ice cream cones that we've made on here as well. Now, I ran out of paint on my little piece of my little temporary palette there, and I'm just spritzing it with water just to spread that paint around, because then I go back and wipe it off anyway. So it's just a hint. It's just putting some color on that just to give it a little bit of an authentic look. And you can see the one I did earlier, I did darker, and it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So now we've got some drippy chocolate clay. Now, if you haven't seen the video on how to do the drippy clay, I've set this up in the basics so that as I do these techniques, you can go back and watch videos that are dedicated just to that process. Because otherwise, these project videos I do will be super long, and I don't want that. Okay. So all of that basic information of how to make a drip, how to make pipeable clay, all of that is in that basics playlist. So make sure you check that out, especially if you're new to fake baking, or maybe you've just need it for a refresher, or maybe you haven't done it for a while or something and want to see what some of the latest techniques are. You can go there and have a look. So I've dipped my wafer cone in the chocolate, and I love that really, really natural look that it gets. And now I'm just coating it with cocoa pop sprinkle mix. Beautiful sprinkle mix, and I think it's perfect for this project. Now, don't forget, oh, I was going to talk about the sale that I've got upcoming, but that could be a bit tricky, because if you're watching this video down the track, there might not be a sale because it would have been finished by then. So I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I do apologize about that. So this first one I'm doing is an apricot colored ice cream scoop, just in your little ice cream mold. And I had in mind that I wanted to do sort of softer ice cream scoops because I wanted it a little bit melted on the bottom. So I picked a clay that was soft, and then but my yellow, my pastel yellow and my pastel green are both quite firm. So they're going to look quite firm, and the apricot one's going to look a little bit more sort of softer. So then I thought, well, if you really wanted it to look like your ice cream scoop is melting, just make up a little bit of that colored clay, a little bit softer with some additional PVA added, and like sort of rub a little bit of that on the bottom to make it look like it's a bit melted potentially. Because these ones don't look melted. That's not. I'll do another one another day where I get more of a melted look. And just sort of sitting them around the edge. And I think they look cute, but you can see as I'm pressing that tangerine one, not tangerine, sorry, the apricot one is a lot softer. Now I've got a whole tub full of wafers that I've made, just at that same process that you saw earlier with the pasta rolling pin. It's really great, when you want something to do, you want to do a little bit of fake baking, but you don't actually want a project to get some of this prepping done. So whether you're doing some molding or whether you're making wafers, and then so you can make your wafers. These ones here I just cut out with a ruler to be rectangles, to make like our little wafer sticks, but you can be cutting out shapes, and you'll see soon that, I've got a couple little shapes there. You can be doing different patterns on the top, all sorts of things you can do. But we're just going with the wafer pattern because we're having a wafer ice cream cup. We need a wafer in the top. So again, just with the honey brown, put some color on it and dabbed it off. Now I'm just pouring directly onto my project a little bit of dark chocolate paint. And we're going to do 3 coats of that because we want it really dark chocolate. See, it's still a bit transparent there. So about 3 coats. And you can see it to the side. It's nice and dark now. And now we've got a little chocolate spoon that I molded. And the chocolate color's not quite as chocolatey as I wanted. So I'm just giving it 1 coat of acrylic paint. Again, in the dark chocolate color. You can see I'm just shaking that hairdryer as I'm doing that action, just so that the heat's not focusing all in one part of that little clay project. Just finishing off the handle. That's a bit cute, right? I did go to put a little plastic silver spoon in it, but it was a bit too long. So I thought, oh, these little chocolate spoons will be cute. So here we go, more wafers. So that's a little one that I imprinted like a heart on the top and just cut out a round. And then I've got the little wafer star, and the wafer star fits on the top of that handle better. So that was the reason I decided to go with that. If we toothpick this, it's going to make it a lot easier to handle because it's only a tiny little element. And again, we're putting some paint on it. So a little bit more honey brown. And I am not using a ton of paint. I'm actually dipping into the lid. I've just unscrewed the lid off the bottle and I'm just using the lid. Just dabbing off a little bit of excess just to give us that wafer look. Isn't that just adorable? Isn't it? There's just the tiniest little details that just finish a project off right. Love that. Now we're going to put that on the end of the spoon, and definitely the toothpick is going to help hold it in place. So I was just measuring how long that toothpick was in respect to that spoon. It was way too long. So cut a little bit off, make a pilot hole, and there we go. Now the top of this spoon's got a little fold in the clay where it was molded and it had a crease. And I don't like it. It looks messy. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Yep, that was the fold I was pointing out. Let's get a dab of cream. Now I already went to put a dab of cream on that, and I hadn't used that piping bag for a while, and the shape wasn't coming out of the nozzle. So cleaned the nozzle, took it off the top, and repiped it. And I think that is the cutest touch. Now we need to anchor that, and putting like a little dob of cream in there to anchor the spoon, but you certainly could have put a toothpick in the bottom of the spoon to anchor it in. Now we want our chocolate to shine, so we're going to add some triple thick. 1 coat, 1 thin coat is all we need. I'm going to hit that with the hairdryer. Again, do not focus your heat in one spot on this because you could potentially make that triple thick crack. we're going to put the toothpick in this one just because we don't want to have to bury that little wafer stick too far down. So I'm just trying to see, do I want it on an angle? Do I want it more straight up and down? Just getting my placement. A little bit of cream on there. And the finishing touch, a heap of cream in the center. And what do we need? We need a cherry. Let's have a good look at this. Let's have a good look. There you go. How good's that? To wafering, get to make some wafer cups, make yourself some little ice cream bowls. That's just too cute.